You remember that, Ed? All right, see if I can find me a clicky here. All right. All right. So here's a sneak preview. You know, I always thought of myself as a great photographer, so I just wanted to show a couple of my greatest things here to kind of introduce what we're going to talk about tonight. And then there's another one. Sometimes things are not quite in focus. They're a little fuzzy to us. And last week when Ed had a chance to preach, he was in Matthew 14, I believe. You may want to turn there. Who knows? You may get called on to read a verse or something. But things have kind of been, in my mind, a little fuzzy, a little out of focus lately. What's important? What do you spend a lot of time worrying about? Well, I'm worried about the election. I'm worried about coronavirus. I'm worried about the economy. And folks are putting a lot of time and effort into that. And I just wonder what we really ought to be focused on. So let's flip over to Matthew 14. And if you remember, this was a tumultuous time as well. The Jews had just experienced the death of John the Baptist. And, that was Jesus' first cousin and a guy who had said, hey, Jesus is coming. So that was obviously a big thing to Jesus. And so as we get on through chapter 14, Jesus says, I just got to walk away from this and have some me time. So he sends the crowd away on a boat, and he gets some time to himself. But then after he spends a little time in prayer and thought, he says, I miss my friends. So what does he do? He walks to them on the water. So as the folks in the boat first encounter Jesus, do you remember what they first said? All right, Matthew 14 at verse 26. It is a ghost, and they cried out for fear. They were uncertain what they were seeing. They were a little out of focus too. They still had probably John the Baptist and other things in their mind, and we're just not really sure about things. So Jesus clears that up immediately. He says, oh, it's me, don't be afraid. And that gets them excited. You can tell it gets them excited because it gets Peter so excited, he's like, yeah, I want to do that too. So he starts walking to meet Jesus on the water. 28, 29 down in there. But then things start to get fuzzy and out of focus again. Peter wasn't worried about catching coronavirus, but he was worried about the wind, and the sea was a little rough that night, and he was a little afraid of it. And he utters 3 words there in verse 30 that are critical to really all of us. He says, Lord, save me. We don't need saving from the Sea of Galilee, but we need to save the salvation. That's the word I'm after. We need the salvation of Jesus ourselves. So things start to come back into focus in verse 31 or so. Oh, you of little faith, why did you doubt? And the wind ceased, the storm is over. And in verse 33, they say, truly you are the Son of God. If they'd ever had doubts about what was going on, and I realized I had all that on a slide and I didn't share it. But if they ever had doubts, right here, the doubts are gone. They know who Jesus is for sure. But what about us? Are you Are you worried about what's going to happen next Tuesday with the election? You know, all these things enter our mind, and we have our doubts. And a guy speaks from prison there, Philippians 4. And he says, don't worry about anything. God's got this. How much more should we have faith in God and not sit and worry about these things? I'm going to suggest tonight that you give God your fears and your worries. James chapter 5 is a good place to go. There's other places you could go, but if you're suffering, pray about it. If you're sick, pray about it. And don't pray with doubting, but pray with faith, understanding that God is there and He's got this. And even if the answer is no, God still heard you and still answered you. Pray for each other. How often do you stop and pray for the Farley Church of Christ? So in these worrisome times, are you worried about the hurricane? You know, I heard Huntsville's delayed schools 2 hours tomorrow. It's going to rain. Lots of things to worry about, but also lots of things to have faith in and to trust in. If there's anything we can do for you tonight, Brother Kenny is going to lead us in an invitation song. Please come as we stand and sing.